I record this, right? So if you want to find EC2 instance, and can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
So if you want to find EC2 instances, or the service EC2, you can find it here on the services, right? Here, EC2. Or if you have recently visited EC2, it's going to show here under recently visited. These are the guys that I select as favorites. So here on the compute, I selected this star here and I made it a favorite. Okay, so different ways to find it in the favorites, on the recently visited, and here on the compute, or simply type in EC2. Okay, so I'm gonna click here. And now I'm here in the EC2 dashboard. Okay. There are several ways to create an instance. You can click here on instances running, or simply you can click launch an instance and then launch instance here. Okay, I'm gonna click on instances running. So there's no instance right now that matches the instance state running. Right? There's no instance. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on launch instance to create an instance. So the very first step is to choose the AMI. And here I'm going to create an Amazon Linux 2 AMI virtual machine, because this is the one that is included in the free tier. And we are interested in that and only that. We don't want to be charged. We don't want to be charged that. So here, you don't have to select anything. It's already selected by default. So we click on select. Right? So now that we are here, we don't have to choose anything because the free tier is selected by default. So don't change anything here. Just keep it there. But you could choose any type, instance type that you want. Right? So this is the only one included in the free tier. We leave it on checked. Right? So next step is the configuration instance details. Okay. So right now, the number of instances, I'm going to create maybe 2 instances. That's okay. That's fine. Remember, we have 750 hours per month. So that's fine. I'm going to create it. And immediately after we test it, we're going to delete it. So that's fine. It's not even you're going to use 5 minutes per instance. All right. So that's it. 2. Now we have the purchasing option right here. We're not going to use spot instances. So we continue. Network, this is the VPC that we're going to use. In this case, we haven't created any VPC, so we're going to use the default VPC that is created for you when you create your account, your root account. Now, if you are, most likely you are in Ohio, you're going to see 3 subnets here. But if you are in Northern Virginia, right here, you're going to see 6, right? So I guess those are the only 2 regions that we are in right now, you guys and me. I don't believe there's someone else that is outside these regions because you live in Virginia, so you're gonna see there, okay? I'm gonna choose 1A, right? And I wanna make sure that my server, my EC2 instance is gonna receive a public IP because I'm gonna create a web server, okay? So I'm gonna enable auto assign public IP. I'm gonna leave this the way it is. I'm not gonna choose anything else here.
Do we have to choose, or do we just leave it as no preference on the subnet?
No, subnet.
No.
Yeah. If you choose no preference, no preference, AWS will choose it for you. Okay.
Okay.
I'd rather choose one. All right.
Okay.
Professor, how about the auto assign public IP? If we keep use subnet setting enabled, is default.
It means that your EC2 instance will not receive the public IP. So you don't want that because we need the public IP because we're gonna create a web server. So we need a public IP. So now we're going to continue. We're not going to touch any of this. We're going to
What's a
continue.
question for a subnet?
Sorry?
Question for a subnet. I
You
have
choose
only,
it. Anything
I
you
have,
want.
oh, just anything, because I see here like US is 2A.
Because you have Ohio. I have Northern Virginia.
Okay,
So
so
US2 is Ohio.
so should
US
I
East
pick
2.
that one?
You choose 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever you want to choose.
No, I don't have that option at all.
Where you have 1A, you have 2A, 2B, and 2C, right?
Yeah,
You choose 2A
okay,
or 2B or 2C. It doesn't matter. It's just the availability zone where you want to deploy your instance.
okay, thank you.
Okay. If you don't choose one, AWS will choose it for you. Okay. Or the system will choose it for you. So we scroll down, right? And here is the user data. This is the place where we can install things at runtime. So while the instance is being created, it's going to run this script that we're going to add there, and it's going to install things. Okay. So I'm going to put some code there, and I'm going to share it with you. Right. Let me find it here.
No.
Please mute your mic.
Mouse por color.
Mute your mic, please. Okay. Guys, if you're doing something else, please mute your mic. It is disruptive to the class. Okay, so I'm going to install an Apache server. And for the Apache server, I'm going to type the following. And guys, you're going to type what I'm typing here. Can you see it? Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's gonna be Linux, okay? And Ec2 instances, when you create an Amazon Linux machine, that is a Red Hat derivative. So it uses Yum instead of apt, okay? So we're gonna use our dear friend Shebang, remember? And you're gonna say this bash. And first of all, we want to say yum -y, which will answer every question yes, right? And we're going to update, okay? Update our machine, right? After that, we're gonna go ahead and say, well, we want to install HTTPD, and that is Apache. So it's a web server, Apache, right? After we have installed Apache, we're going to start Apache. So we say systemctl, and we saw the Linux, don't forget that. Systemctl, and we're going to say start HTTPD, right? And once we start it, we're going to enable it. So we say systemctl enable HTTPD, right? Now, there's some data that we want to get from the instance. And this is what we call metadata. Metadata, okay? So metadata is data about the data. So it's data about your instance. So we're gonna declare a variable. We're gonna say instance ID, right? Instance ID, we're gonna get the instance ID and display it in the console, in the browser, okay? So we say this guy, right? And we want to run a command. Remember that we use this guy as command substitution? Remember? Command substitution, we say date inside and it printed the date. Remember? Remember it was like this?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember this, right? We did it many
Yeah,
times.
in Linux.
Yes.
Right? So instead, this is the old way. The new way, it was like this, right? So we're gonna say curl, which stands for client URL. And we're going to type a URL, which is the URL for getting the metadata. This is for every single instance, but you are running this inside the instance. So it's getting the data from the instance, okay? So it's a very simple URL. It's going to be 169.254.169.254, right? And then after that, we're going to say latest, and we're going to get the metadata. Okay. But that metadata, which is going to print every single data of your instance, we're going to say, I want to get the instance ID. That's all I want. Okay. So I want to get the instance ID. So this guy will print all the possible, I would say the possible components or the possible features or the possible characteristics of your instance, right? But once you add this guy, it's going to give you the actual value of the instance ID, right? So the instance is going to be stored in this variable, okay? Now that we have the instance ID, we're going to get the host, right, as well. So we're going to do the same thing, right? And now we're going to copy and paste. I'm not going to do all this, type all this again. So I'm going to paste it, right? And now I'm going to say, well, give me the host name, right? So now I have the instance ID and the host name there, right? Okay. Now what I have to do is just echo this. So I'm going to echo this guy, but it's going to be in the form of an HTML file. Okay, so I'm going to say HTML open tag, open a tag H1, and now I'm going to close H1 first, and then close HTML. Okay, so I open and then close. Opening doesn't have a forward slash, closing has a forward slash, as you can see there. Okay, so whatever I print here, right? I'm going to, and of course, here I have H1, H1. I'm going to open an H2 and close an H2. Okay, and be careful, guys. You have to put this exact, otherwise it will not print anything, right? Now, once I have, of course, I'm going to put text here inside. Okay, I'm going to put these variables. But in the meantime, everything that is echoed here, we're going to redirect it like we did in Linux, redirect it to a file that's going to be inside the var folder. Remember in Linux, var? And inside var, we're going to have a folder named www. And then inside www, we're going to have another folder named HTML. And then inside HTML, we're going to create, because this guy, remember, if it doesn't exist, it creates it. We're going to create an index HTML file. Okay. So basically, we're creating this file, but we have to give it the path. So it can put this file inside the HTML folder. Right. Are we revisiting Linux? I think so. Right? So now, inside the H1, I'm going to say instance ID, right? And then I'm going to refer to the variable instance ID, right? Okay.
Is the ID capital or not? I couldn't see it.
Well, just
Does it
like
matter?
like you put it here, it has to match. Whatever you put here,
Okay.
it has to be here. You can give it a name you want. It's a variable, just like we did in Linux, right? Now I'm going to break the line because I want the instance ID to be above the other data that I want to print. I want to say BR/close. So that's a line break. Okay, and HTML, that's a line break. Okay, and then I want to say host, right? And I'm going to say host. Okay, just like this variable here that I created. Okay. Right. And now inside H2, I want to set Northern Virginia. If you're in Ohio, you can say Ohio. Whatever you want, guys. Northern Virginia. Okay. Okay, I can paste this in the chat. Be careful with the quotations. Okay. All right. It's there in the chat. Let us make sure that everything is fine. Bin bash, yum update, yum install, HTTPD, systemctl start HTTPD, systemctl enable HTTPD, instance ID host, curl, HTTP 169.254, 169.254, latest meta dash data, instance ID, close parenthesis, host, $, open parenthesis, curl, HTTP, the same thing, host name. Perfect. Now echo HTML, closed HTML here. Perfect. Open H1, close H1, open H2, close H2. Instance ID, the variable matches this guy. Perfect. And the host matches this guy. And Northern Virginia with var www HTML index.html. Perfect. So why do we name this file HTML? Because that's the file that the Apache server looks for to display in the browser. Okay, it's like a point of entry. Okay, so now that we have this, it's everybody okay with this? Everybody's finished with this part?
Can I have like 2 seconds? Because I just messed up. So just 2 seconds.
You
Two.
can copy from the chat.
Yeah, that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
Can you scroll up above advanced details? Make sure I got the same settings as you.
2.
Oh, you have 2 instances. Okay.
Yeah. A VPC, the default one.
Yep.
I selected one availability zone. I enable this, and then the rest is just as is. We don't do
Okay.
anything.
So the only thing I messed up is 2 because I had 1.
You can create 1, but I'm creating 2 for you guys to see the difference, how it gets the metadata from the 2 instances instead of 1. Okay. So we are.
Do we launch into an auto scaling group?
No.
Okay.
Not now. Because auto scaling group creates the instance itself. We don't have to create it here, right? This is a suggestion only, right? We don't need that. This is a test. All right. So, Wendy, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. So
Professor,
now, go ahead.
we just made auto-assign public IP enable, and then we did this Linux commands and user data. That's all, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So previous, we have here in the volume, we don't have to do anything, right? We don't have to add any storage or anything, right? Just keep it the way it is for now, right? And we add tags, right? A tag is just metadata of the instance. So this is it's a case sensitive key value pair, right? So we're gonna add a tag here, and we're gonna say name,
You
and then we
click
can
launch.
say Apache web server, right? So we can give it a name. So that name is going to be applied to the instances. It's going to be applied to the volumes and to the network interfaces, right? Right. Okay, that's what it says there. Now you can
I think
add.
Lara was asking a question.
Go ahead, Lara.
Was it Lara?
Yeah, but it's okay. I'll watch the video.
You can add up to 50 tags, right? Up to 50 tags, right? So it's very important. Tagging is very important for saving money. Okay, and we'll understand this later when we talk about tagging, right? So now we're gonna configure the security group, and here we're gonna create a new one, right? Just leave it the way it is. Just we're gonna create one, and we're gonna name and say Apache Server Security Group.
What was the
Okay.
tag you put again? I caught the Apache web server part, but what was
yeah.
the tag?
It could be anything you want. Okay, name, and then Apache web server.
Okay, got it. Thank
Right.
you.
So the security group is going to be Apache Security Web Server, security group, Apache Server Security Group. And for the description, I'm going to use the same word, but I'm going to split it into 4 words, right? Because for the security name, it has to be 1 word. You cannot do this. It won't accept it. Based on the naming restrictions that this security group has, you cannot use several words. It has to be only 1. But for the description, it's fine. Okay. So we have SSH open here, which lets us SSH into the instance, but this is a web server. And of course, I'm going to say web server here. I'm going to add web server, right? And I'm going to add another rule, and this rule is going to be HTTP, right? Right here, HTTP. That opens port 80, right? And this is for IPv4, and this is IPv6, okay? So I'm gonna say here, allows access via port 22, right? And this one is allows traffic or allows access via port 80, right? Good. Now, we can go ahead and review and launch, right? Review and launch. So we'll review everything, right? It says here, improve your instance's security. Your security group, Apache Web Server Security Group, it's open to the world. Of course, it's a web server, right? But also this guy is open to the world too. This is bad practice. Never leave the source as 0.0.0/0 because that's the entire world. So here would be like URP or something. But we're going to keep it this way because we're going to do something to SSH into the instance. So right now, you launch the instance, right? Now, this is when Mac shines, right? So right now, if you have Windows, don't do anything, because to be able to do something with this, you will have to use a third-party piece of software, which is PuTTY. But if you have a Mac computer, you don't have to do any of that, right? Now, we're going to create a key, right? So you're going to create a new key, right? And the name of the key is going to be, let's say, cohort 3 key pair.
That's
Okay?
only for Mac, correct?
For Mac. For Windows, you can do it, but not now. So the lab is going to teach you how to work with the Windows, right? You will have to do it. You have to download it anyways. So you can download it to your computer, but you will have to do take an extra step to be able to log in, right? But anyways, you have to download it. But for now, if you don't want to do it, don't do it, okay? So now we're going to click here. You see this button here, launch instance is not enabled until I download the key. So now I download the key. It's going to be downloaded here, right? And now the button is enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and put this key in my desktop, okay? So I can save it here, right? I'm going to put it in my desktop, and then I'm going to go ahead and launch the instance, right? So now my instance has been launched. I can go ahead and see the instances right here, but this will give you one by one, or I can click here, view instances, and that will show me all the instances that are in my console right now. So as you can see here, the tag that we put, name Apache Web Service right here. Our instances were given an IP address. If you take a look here, a public IP address, right? Now we have to wait until both are running. So they're running right now. So if you want to explore.
So if we're on Windows, we can't get this far, correct? Without the key?
No, the key is necessary to log in into the instance, but to be able to see in the browser, you don't need the key. So create a key or don't create a key. Okay, you have both choices. You can proceed without a key and acknowledge it, or create a key, whichever you want to do.
Because see,
Okay.
I clicked on the little pop-up box you had that you said that you were doing whatever for Mac people.
Okay.
It either I can X out or cancel because launch instances was like not clickable, correct? And then it just takes me back to that.
Do you download the key?
It doesn't give you an option to download.
I thought you said don't.
Okay. I said that you guys, if you're Windows, you can still download the key, but you cannot SSH into the instance if you don't use a third-party tool. If you have a Mac computer, the Mac terminal has already SSH there. So you don't have to do anything else, just use the terminal to SSH into the instance. So now if you please share the screen, Wendy, that would be nice.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Hold on a second. This is where I'm at.
Okay, so you have two options. You can actually three. You can choose an existing key pair, but you don't have any, or you can select, click on the drop-down menu, choose, or you can create a new key, or proceed without a key, right? So whichever you want to do. So you want to proceed without a key, you go ahead and launch the instance.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was totally confused. Yes,
so now
yes,
you
I
click
got
on View Instances, you scroll down, View Instances, and that will show the instances in the pending state.
Okay, I'm clear now.
Okay.
I was confused. I was scared to do it. So
Not
I got it. Got it.
Yeah. So now I can go back to my, can you see it, guys? Can you see my screen with the servers? All right, now what you have to do is copy this guy, the IP address, and paste it in the browser, right? You see? Now you can do the same with the other one, and you're gonna get different information. You see that the ID of this guy and the ID of this guy, right? Right? This is the host, this is the instance ID, and this is the region where my instance is, Northern Virginia, which is the one that I hard-coded there, right? right? Are you guys there? Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Nice.
This means we created a server.
Yeah,
Like
this is a web server. Yeah. You see? Now what you have to do is buy a domain and point the domain to this IP address, and that's it. That's it. And buy a certificate too, because this is not secure, right? But this is a web server. This is live, guys. This is live. I can give you this IP address and you will find it. Okay. So can someone share the screen and paste this IP address, please? I'm going to post it in the chat. Okay. Can someone share the screen and use my IP address, please? Oh, you're still trying to do that, Kenneth? Okay, someone that has their instances running already.
Okay. I can do it, I guess.
All right. Take my IP address, please, and place it in the browser. Okay. Who wants to do it? Okay, Jonathan.
Yep.
Take my IP address and put it in the browser.
Okay,
It's in the chat.
I already copied it.
There you go.
Right.
It's live, right? It's live. Now, instead of using my IP address, I can use my the DNS of my instance. So I can go ahead here, and instead of using my IP address, I can use the DNS, and this is the URL of the instance. So I can go here and type and just paste the URL, and I get the same thing. With the IP, I get a result, and with the DNS, the public DNS, IPv4 DNS, I get the same result as the IP address, right? Got it. There you go, guys. That's a web server. Now, you can select the web server here if you want, right? You can select it here. So I have to, let me refresh this. So I have to, right now, I can select one and connect to it. You see this connection here? Connect. So I can click on connect, and this will SSH into my instance without using the terminal or anything, or any key. So I can connect to my instance, and as you can see, I am inside the instance right now. So this is my virtual machine. Okay. So now that I am in a virtual machine,
can you just repeat that one, the last one?
Select the instance, and then click on connect. Once you click on connect, just leave it the way it is and connect. And that's it. You will get this web-based connection here. All right. So now if I want to get the metadata, what I have to do is do the same thing as the Apache server, right? I can do 169, 254, 169, 254, and then I can say latest, and then metadata. And that will give me all the things that I can get from my instance. The AMI ID, the AMI launch index, the host name right here, the instance IDs right here, right? The IPv4 is right here. The security groups is right here, right? So all of this metadata, I can get it from my instance. So you can type this guy, you can type it, you can get it from the chat, the code that I gave you guys, you can get it from there and pay. Well, actually, you cannot paste here. This doesn't allow you to paste. That's that's what I don't like about this guy, right? Now, if I want to get, for example, the instance ID, well, I can say instance ID. And that will give me the instance ID. It's right here, right? If I want to get the host name, I can say host name. And it gives me the host name. It's right here. If I want to get the public IPv4, I can say this guy and say public IPv4. Right? And that gives me the public IPv4. Right? Right? But maybe I want to separate that and say IPv4, right? And declare a variable with .data, right? And I can do the same with the instance ID. And declare a variable and call it ID, right? And get the host name and say here host, right? Good. Now I can say printf. Do we know printf? I think so, right? So I can leave a space here and say my instance ID is, right? And then I can say ID, right? And then line break and say host. The host is host. And then line break again and say the public IP is IPv4, right? IPv4, is that what it is, right? IPv4. So I break the line 2 times and I would get this. Okay. Metadata about the Ec2 instance. By using this particular URL. Okay. Got it? Who's stuck? Who is having a problem here?
I have a problem.
All right, I'm going to stop the video for solving the problem. So far, everybody understood what we did here? I want to make this video as short as possible. I don't want to make it like a big video. Okay. You guys understand?
Yes.
Could you post it right quick?
Right quick?
Yeah, right now.
Well, it takes some time when you start streaming. It takes some time to process. Right.
You can just click on the link, like on the live onto YouTube, like where you see it, and then the drop down,
Really?
and just click whichever one you want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So I'm gonna stop, and then we're